Hello and welcome to Tangerine, a show I announce every week. This week we are looking at more horror games, and the first one we're going to be looking at is Carrion. Carrion Killing
Yeah.
People. It's the brand new Carrion
Spook.
film. Um,
Yeah. Spooky month continues.
yep. And I've been playing. I think it's 3 games. It's Carrion. And then the DLC expansion to Carry On, which is essentially another short little, it's like a 20-minute level, basically. That's set at
Okay.
Christmas. And
So
then
you start again like no mass.
yeah. And then we have Save Room the Merchant, the sequel to Save Room, which we were talking about last week, which I really like. And Ghostwire Tokyo, which I've been playing, and I really like that game as well. But this is Carry On. We've done a spotlight, I believe, on Carry On.
Yeah,
Either a
yeah.
spotlight
On the
or
demo,
a
right?
Tangerine, yeah. And I thought this game was awesome. It is
Yeah.
a reverse horror game, so when you have those horrible things crawling through the walls, you get to play as that basically and terrorize people.
Yeah.
The game reminds me of the most actually is the first prototype game.
Yeah. The way you
The
absorb things and
Yeah, so much of that game was just
tendrils.
me. So much of that game was just me fucking with people. I would just absorb an old lady, start running up the side of a building, and then just start
pick up a tank.
pick up a tank and just throw it at people on the street. And I'm like, that's the sort of energy I'm channeling when I'm playing Carry On, because not only is this like a reverse horror game, but it's also a Metroidvania in a lot of sense. As you progress through the game, as you saw at the clip there before, you absorb new powers which let you attack enemies in different ways, but also lets you progress through different obstacles. So before I couldn't get past these wooden barriers, but I got this ability to charge into these big barriers when I was a bigger creature. And that was something that confused me at first, that I was like, I seem to have different powers some of the time, but only some. I couldn't figure out how to switch between them, because when you're a small symbiote, I guess, creature thing,
Mass.
Yeah. You basically, I literally, you can see me here in the thing, looking at the controls. I was like, how do you switch powers? When you're a small one, you can shoot webs out, and that lets you attack people from afar, but it also lets you push switches. And when you're a bigger guy, like the medium guy, you can charge to these barricades. And I'm like, how do I charge to the barricades? I need to be able to do that.
So you have to, whatever your size is depends on what ability you have.
So
Right.
when you basically, your size is your health, but it's also your abilities.
Yeah.
And that's quite interesting, because it's like, well, when you're the small guy, you get this web slinger, you get the ability to become invisible and stuff like that, but you're also your weakest because you have the least amount of health.
Yeah.
I will say, being the big dude is definitely the most powerful stuff, because you get to basically tank shots. It's his special power as you unlock further into the game.
I love the movement of the creature. It's just so.
I started
so
playing
alien.
with a controller, but then I eventually switched to playing with a mouse and keyboard. I think the mouse movement's a lot easier to control, just for me personally.
Because you're clicking.
The controller's fine as well.
I was a mouse
But the number one way you heal in this game is either by consuming innocent people, because you cannot consume soldiers. They don't give you health, but you can consume they're just random people who don't fight back, so they're like your health points. They're like the sheep of the game, I guess. And
right, yeah.
Then these big guys, you can't eat them, you can't gain any health from them, to stop you just eating all of the soldier dudes, I guess. They've got too much armor on them, they're not tasty enough.
Too much muscle.
Yeah. So
gameplay.
Another way you save is by another way you get health is by saving, which is you essentially go into these symbiote holes, which then lets you spread your corruption or your mass through the factory. It's like a biochemical lab or something like that you're inside of.
Because you escape from containment.
Yeah, that's the start of the game. And essentially, when you go into those, you save the game, but you spread out. And essentially, every level in the game is built up by these doors that have locks on them, and the amount of locks is how many of these different save game spreading areas you need to unlock, which then lets you unlock the next area of the map to go to. So if you can see here,
so you find locations like enough to unlock.
Yeah, but I'm coming back. I've already been to that area because I was like, oh, I can come back to this area and I can actually break that wooden thing and see what's in there.
Okay.
But you eventually there's puzzles based around your size, and eventually you can deposit biomass in water. So you basically you basically drop off parts of your body as an egg, which then lets you have different abilities to solve different puzzles. Which I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, it is this big overworld. One thing that I was like kind of unhappy. There's no map for the game, which I was like, as a Metroidvania, I was getting. I mean, I never particularly got lost. It was always like, well, I just go towards the area I haven't been to, right? But there was some parts where you're backtracking a little bit. But it would have been nice to have a map as well.
Yeah. Some people find it hard to a mental image or stuff, so I feel like a map is always a good idea.
Yeah.
I know some people some games you don't need a map, but I always feel like you shouldn't have to have the map, but it's nice to have.
This game really makes you feel like a giant hulking massive monster that's going around killing people. 10 out of 10 IGN.
There's a lot of those games recently.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Just squished inside that.
One of my favorite abilities is another one of my favorite abilities from Prototype as well, is the ability to take over people. And the way you do it in this game is you send out this tentacle really slowly, and it just crawls towards somebody, and then you basically suck into them and take them over.
Okay.
And you get the abilities of that person. So humans that are just normal dudes. This is the deposit in the biomass thing I was talking about, and then you can eat it again to regain it. But humans, you just basically take them over to push levers and stuff like that. I deposited all my biomass, so now I'm just an egg.
Right.
But then you can take over the soldiers, and you get access to all the soldiers' abilities. So they have this gunfire that shoot. They have you can hold down right click, and you can basically bring up a shield that blocks fire. There's guys who ride in, later down the game, there's these mechs that are really hard to take out, and you can go and pilot these mechs as a human and just start blasting. Imagine you're walking around a lab, and then suddenly one of the humans just starts walking into a mech and just starts shooting everybody. You're like, what the fuck is going on? It's I love that.
Well, even they look like a zombie. A zombie.
It's that sort of psychological horror that this game really helps you role play, where it's I'm gonna start slowly fucking with the people. So this is where I got confused. I was like, I need to deposit the biomass, become the small version, and then use my web shop to hit the lever to open the area I need to get to, right? And this is sort of the core gameplay is you need to explore through the areas to unlock new powers from these biohazard material units, and then you need to switch between your different forms in order to solve these puzzles. And that's the core gameplay loop of the game. And I think it's really fun. I think this game is genuinely really good. I think it took me... So look, I've got 6 hours on my thing, but I played the DLC map for half an hour, or 20 minutes to half an hour. So I'd say it took me about 5.5 hours to beat the game, 6 hours to play the game and the DLC, so it's not super long, but
it's not super expensive either, so
no. But I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you get it quite. It's about £15 off sale, and then it goes on sale quite cheap as well.
Yeah. I think I picked it up last sale or like last Halloween sale or something along those lines. I can't quite remember.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's well worth it.
Yeah,
Um,
I
it just looks
played through
brilliant.
those.
It's just I think we need more. I know there's like quite a few now, but I still want more like reverse horror stuff. I think it's just such a cool idea. And like yeah, this like sort
Mm. I think I
of
gave this
biomass
the
movement
game
is
on
so
its
good.
own. I gave it a. I love how you can just like. There's so many ways to play. You can be this big hulking mass. You can just go in and wreck things, but you can also play like a stealthy, like sneaky boy. You can just
Yeah, that's
drop
cool.
vents on people and then just distract them. You can. Obviously, my favorite thing was just taking over humans and then getting them to kill everyone. I thought that was really cool. But there's tons of play styles. There's a really the art style and everything's great. There's fun Metroidvania puzzle solving, and yeah, I think this is a really fun game. I think I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 on my rating system. So I think it's an
Yeah,
incredibly solid game, and I would recommend most people check this out. It is awesome having a horror game where you play as the monster, which is not something we see
yeah,
very often in gaming.
yeah.
So awesome to
Would
see.
like to see more of that, please.
Also checked out their DLC map, which is I think it's called the Greatest Time of the Year. Um,
Okay.
but it's essentially in that Gremlin zone where it's like it's sort of a horror Halloween thing, but it's also kind of a Christmas thing where it's like it's
Yeah, when you're supposed to play it or watch it,
yeah.
yeah, it's creepy but Christmassy. I don't know.
I just played it immediately after playing Carrion because I was like, oh, what's this? I want to try this out. This game's really fun.
Yeah, I
But
find okay for me personally. Like I feel like when Christmas time comes, I'm not really looking for creepy stuff, so I just play the creepy stuff in Spooktober.
yeah, I think I've watched Gremlins at Halloween and Christmas, and I can't remember which one I preferred.
Right.
I think it's. I don't know. The thing with Gremlins is
I
it's
would want a
very
Halloween.
much everyone is like at Christmas. Like
Yeah,
it's very much Christmas film, but it's
because that's
also
spoiled Christmas in my eyes. It's not really very
yeah.
Christmassy.
I mean, it depends. Do you think Die Hard's a Christmas film? Because it's set at
Uh,
Christmas. Because
I
that'll
don't
help.
really.
Because Gremlins is set
I
at
don't really care
Christmas.
either way.
But like, I would say Gremlins is more about the setting of Christmas than Die Hard is. Die Hard just kind of happens to be at Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
But even
But
then, it's like it might be like Christmas is important, but it's again you're ruining Christmas. So to me, it's a Halloween thing. So that's just
these are the
how I
mechs I was
interpret it.
talking about that you can fight and take over as
Oh,
well.
the Warhammer mechs. Okay.
Another thing I should mention is you can go into these computers and you essentially this is the taking over ability where you basically get to control the different units. I was like, open the doors, I'm ready to take them on, I've got a gun. And then, because this is right at the start of the game, it's like, oh no, we're just going to kill them.
Okay.
I was like,
All
yeah,
right.
fair enough. I would have struggled to fight them at this point in the game. But yeah, there's these computers you can go into, and they let you basically relive these memories of like the scientists finding you, I guess. And that
Oh,
plays
okay.
into the
So it's
story.
like an origin.
Without spoiling it, I like the story of the game. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Inside, if you know how Inside
Okay.
story goes.
Interesting.
But yeah, I really like this game, and I recommend most people check it out. It's like, it's not very expensive, and it's like, you know, not too short. It's pretty decent length, and it's really fun. So I would say most people check it out. And the DLC stuff is cool. I played the entire thing. It took me 27 minutes, and also it has workshop support, so you can make your own custom maps, and there's plenty of custom map content to play as well.
I'm so confused. Why the human shooting?
Because they're being controlled
Nice, yeah.
by a
The
mass.
controller thing is really cool. Just like the tendril just like extends as you control them.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one, Tony. We have Save Room the Merchant. So we talked about Save Room, the initial game, and Save Room is essentially an organization puzzle game. It is very heavily inspired by the attaché case from Resident Evil 4. And the idea is that you are positioning your guns and your ammo around in order to fit them all in and exit the level. And then it expands on itself because as you get to the levels, you go, well, I need to end the level with all my ammo filled to my guns. I need to make sure I have full health. And it's like, you also get to a point where you start to purposely harm yourself so you can take med kits so you have less space to fill in your inventory and stuff like that. And it's like, it turns into these like really cool context puzzles where it's like, I understand the context of a game, so I can use that to solve the puzzle. Also, I have to point out the merchant's voice. It is someone doing an impersonation of the Resident Evil 4 merchant, which I will fix later.
It's fine, but I don't. Yeah, I feel like the fix is much better. That's what I'm gonna say.
But essentially, it's taken the idea of the first game where you basically there's one puzzle that you have to
come back anytime.
There's one puzzle that you have to solve, and then you go on to the next one. This one puts it into 2 stages. You start out with a gold phase. Generally, I think it's later on when you start adding the dual element to the game. See if I can find it. Yeah, so you start off with the initial puzzle of how do I fit these treasures into my inventory. Then you go to the merchant, and then you have a list of items that you have to leave the level with, and then you have to figure out how you get enough money to buy everything, and then you have a second puzzle phase where you essentially have to stack the weapons in the attaché case so that they fit and you can leave with them, which I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool thing. I saw a lot of people on the Steam page complaining about the change from the first game because they went I really liked the zen state of like the just going from puzzle to puzzle to puzzle, and I felt like the merchant phase slowed that down. And I saw so many of these that I was like, I need to leave. I actually left a review on the store page because I think it was like mixed or like slightly positive, like mostly positive, and I was like, I feel like I have to, leave a review to be like, this game is actually really fun and effective.
Surely, if you want that, you play the original. If you want this, you play this. I don't really see the.
Like I said, being a big fan of the original game, I wanted to try this one out, and it does add more inventory sorting puzzles. I saw mixed reviews based on the merchant mechanic. While I wasn't sure at the first about it myself, I really came to enjoy this mechanic of min-maxing sales of items as I do in most games with a shop. As somebody who walked out of Dead Money's vault with a pocket full of gold, yes, it adds more layers between orientation-based puzzles, but if you want that frictionless experience, you can still play the original game. I can highly recommend this game even if you haven't played the original game. The mod that replaces the merchant's voice, which I found to be a bit annoying with the Resident Evil 4 merchant's voice on the Steam guides, is a required mod in my opinion, and I don't think I have footage here of the mod in action.
It's also the sound effect by hovering over stuff. It's just so good.
Thank you, stranger. I'll buy it at a high price.
I do love how he interrupts himself. It's so good.
Is that all, stranger? Thank you.
But yeah, obviously for licensing issues, they couldn't put the Resident Evil 4 voice in, and they had to do the parody voice. But if you go to the Steam guides for this game, there's a instruction guide on how to install this mod in order to effectively enhance your gameplay experience like I have here.
Yeah. And it is enhanced. You can't deny.
Enhance, engage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more like attaché case organization puzzles, and I find it really fun. The thing I really like about the items is there's like this min-maxing that comes where it's like, oh, I can sell the base pieces of a jewel, but if I buy the other gem I need for this, I can complete it and it becomes a much more valuable item. So a lot of the time, you're taking in these gems half completed and then you're selling some other gems that you don't need to complete. And then you're buying gems that help you complete items. And then you can, so you're spending money, but you're spending money to make more money. And it becomes like this really interesting, like, min-maxing of a shop that you would do in like a Resident Evil like game. Like if you like sorting inventories, which I feel like most of my time playing RPGs and Resident Evil and stuff like that, I spend in the inventory screen just sorting my inventory. I like that sort of stuff. I found this actually quite fun and relaxing.
Yeah, I think it's a cool mechanic personally. I know some people don't, but I think it's really good.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was really good.
Thank you.
So I've got these gems now, so I can buy the mask, I think? Yeah, the Mask of Beliefs, and if I combine those gems I bring in, I can complete the crown by putting jewels onto it, and then now I can sell that for more, basically. Once you've been to the merchant once, like you've solved the jewel puzzle, you can basically go to the merchant with whatever. So you don't have... Once you've got all the puzzle pieces into place first time, you can keep going backwards and forwards from the merchant, which I think is a nice step to add.
So it's a game of two halves.
Yeah. So if you're looking at this and you're like, I like organization puzzles, and I also like min-maxing selling things for the most money and sorting out my inventory, this might be the game for you. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think it is generally good. I think there's another like 40-ish puzzles. Also, Tony, if you may remember from my streaming, I told you in Resident Evil 4 you're sent to save the president's daughter. That's the story of the game. In this game, you're sent to save the president's dog, and that's the mission you're going on, which I'm like, that's hilarious.
Take it for a walk.
But yeah, let's move on to the final game, which is Ghostwire Tokyo. So I heard mixed things from this game initially. I heard some people say it was good, some people didn't click with it. It is Tango Gameworks. So the creators of Evil Within, and also they just did Hi-Fi Rush at the start of this year, right? They seem to be another one of those developers that just refuses to make the same game again. They're like, no, we're making a third-person horror game. Now we're making a third-person horror-ish FPS magic game, and then we're going to make a rhythm-based combo action game. It's just like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm down to play weird shit. And I have been really enjoying Ghostwire Tokyo. So the game starts out, you're just like a random guy on a motorbike. You have a crash, and then basically a spirit possesses your body and is like, I'm going to use your body to go and fight some spirits. And then you sort of had this power dynamic struggle of war, which you eventually come to work together with a spirit called KK, who's essentially like, before he died, he was hunting spirits. So then it's sort of got like that, that spirit hunting vibe.
Yeah.
But essentially, there's this giant fog that goes throughout the whole of Tokyo. I think you're mostly in the Shibuya area, is where the beginning of the game takes place. Whenever you go into the fog, it basically damages your character, so you can't progress. So it's like the fog is like the barrier of the game, and as you go through the game, it's sort of like open worldy, where there's these thing called Torii gates, which I know from my Sekiro Deep Lore videos in Japan. Torii gates are believed to be they're like the giant red gates you see in a lot of Japanese fiction. They are believed to be the way
they're
you enter
in real life
the
as well.
spirit world. Yeah. And there's tons of weird Japanese folklore in this game. You get stuff like Kappa demons and weird stuff like that. All those different crazy Japanese spirits are in this game, and it's awesome to see them in a video game, because otherwise you just wouldn't, like there's tons of that stuff in Sekiro as well, but this like goes and turns up to 11, the Japanese spirit stuff. which I find really, really cool. But what I was going back to, the way you cleanse these Torii gates, and they're essentially, think of them like towers in like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. That's sort of how they function. So you find these Torii gates, there's usually a small combat encounter, you cleanse them, and that's how you expand the fog. Then there's the story missions, and then there's side quest content. So there's people, basically you're helping spirits with their unfinished business to help them move on, which will then give you gold and will give you spirits. So the main way, so this game has a lot of RPG elements to it. So, and the main way you level is by absorbing spirits. You basically have these little paper dolls that look like the spirit emblems in Sekiro, and you basically go around the city sucking up these spirits, or you get them as rewards from finishing side quest and main mission content. And then you go to these phones, you call a number, you scan the spirits, and then that hands them in. And then that essentially is the way that you get XP and gold in the game. So collecting these spirits is like the core part of the game, because that's how you get the XP you need to level up and get new abilities. And this is just like stories. I've got gameplay, which I think is better way to show off like the actual gameplay of the game. So yeah, when you have spirit form, you can glide. I think the movement in this game is really fun, especially once you upgrade it. Like, there's an ability, there's these when you need to go up to high buildings, there's a lot of just like, it's fucking Tokyo, so there's tons of high-rise buildings, right?
Yeah. Very dense.
And these are the spirits you need to absorb, and they'll just be randomly around buildings, and you'll absorb them and then hand them in. I think one of the best upgrades I got early on was the amount of time it takes to absorb spirits. I increased how quickly you can absorb them, because I'm like, a lot of the game you're going to be spending just picking up spirits, which sometimes in like I've said in the past with open world games, I get kind of annoyed just doing, collecting busy work. But I said I absolutely adore collectathons. And collectathons are very similar to open world games in the sense where you're traversing around a world just collecting things, right? But the distinction I made was the collectathons are really fun because the movement mechanic is really fun. When it's fun to move around in a game, that just makes collecting stuff and moving around feel really fun and good, right? And I think the movement
the way they put stuff down.
I think the movement in Ghostwire Tokyo is really good. You get this ability to summon these Tengu spirits yourself, so you could just quickly climb up buildings. You can then, you have this glide mechanic, which you can increase the amount of time it takes to glide. And then, it feels really good. So some of the summon the Tengu ability is actually locked behind these things called Megatamas. And basically to get a bunch of those, you need to do side quests. So I think it was like, I was looking up a guide on how to complete I think I was confused on a mission, and then I was like, somebody was like, what was I looking up? No, I was like, how do you spend the Makatamas, right? Because I was like, it says you need 7, and it says I have 7 out of 1, right? So surely I should just be able to immediately press them. No, Tony, Japanese developers, I had 1 out of 7, but it's backwards because in Japan, they read right to left. So everything is right to left, not left to right, like you would from an English UI design standpoint. So I was really confused by that. And that's one thing to point out about Ghostwire Tokyo is there is like a lot of Japanese stuff. It's like, one of the missions was you need to find this phone card to use a special phone booth for one of the main story missions, right? And it was like, I think I dropped it off at the laundromat. I go, cool. I can diegetically, inside the game, figure out where to go because I just need to go to the laundromat, right? And then it dawned on me, I have no fucking clue what a Japanese laundromat looks like. Like, every building I go to, it's got a bunch of kanji written on it, and I'm just like, is this a laundromat? Is this a laundromat? It's like, I feel like if you speak Japanese, you could probably locate this game very diegetically and be like, oh, I know where the bathhouse is. I know what a bathhouse looks. I know what a laundromat looks like. I know what a store looks
Yeah.
like, right? But for me, I found myself much more relying on the markers on the map, which are there to help you move around this sort of stuff. Where it's like, I do like more diegetic stuff, where it's like you read like a PDA in the game, and it's like, or like, imagine you're playing like Fallout New Vegas or something like that, and you read a terminal, and he's like, yeah, I left a secret switch underneath the general store. So you go to the general store, right?
Yeah.
And unless you know where the general store is, that's not really going to help you, right? Unless you have a giant sign on the thing that says general store. But if you don't read Japanese, I don't know what the general store is, you know? That's just like one very small, Japanese thing I noticed.
I guess you could show like the sign could have other information on, like to show it's more general, I suppose. But yeah,
there's a lot of terrifying
rely on
creatures in this
words.
game. I think one of the most terrifying ones was there's this woman who looks like Lady Demistru, and she just runs at you with a giant pair of scissors. And I'm like, that's fucking terrifying.
Wait, Scissorman?
Yeah, Scissorman. So the main gameplay mechanic is you basically hit these enemies down with your weaving ability. So you have like your green attack is your basically like your pistol, and then you can charge it up to be like a burst pistol, or later on in the game you get like the ability to charge and then melee attack, which then turns it into like an SMG. Then you have your water weaving, which is essentially a shotgun. It's a very like close range water attack, and then you can use your charged attack and your melee attack to turn. So you see the pistol there, I turn it to like an SMG by charging it up and using the strike attack. Then this is like the SMG. This is the shotgun, and then the red attack, which you have the least ammo with, is essentially a piercing weapon that you upgrade it to, and essentially like a sniper rifle, but if you charge up the shot, it's like a rocket launcher. That's the easiest way I can describe how these spells sort of work as if they were guns.
Like spell combos into like gun abilities.
Yeah, and I think it's really
cool.
awesome. But also, when you get enemies low enough, you saw like those core things coming out, and you can essentially, if you can basically get to a good point when no one else is attacking you, you can rip out their core and that immediately kills them. You can just keep blasting them with abilities to kill them, which I do sometimes because, I'm getting attacked by other enemies, so I can't rip out their cores mid-combat. But it basically lets you save a lot of ammo with your guns because... Oh, this is the Lady Demistry with the scissor woman I was talking about.
Okay.
There's two of them here, but I have the piercing upgrade for the sniper rifle, so it's making short work of these guys. Because I essentially saved up all my red ammo, so I could quickly take out some big enemies.
Yeah.
And again, I got the piercing upgrade.
Again, it's like, I feel like it's not quite the same, I suppose, but like it's like FPS with magic. I do appreciate the effort they put into it, and like
it's awesome.
Interesting stuff you can unlock by like fully going with it.
I actually found myself doing a lot of the side stuff in this game because I read people got like they were like, oh, the side stuff's tedious, and they got bored of it. But when you clear shrines, Tori shrines as well, you get these beads, which is another way you can equip different beads on your character, which is another way you can have these like RPG mechanics where you can customize how your character plays. I do love these fake 3D rooms they put everywhere, where you can tell it's like 2D painted on with like fake depth to it. They did this a lot in the Matrix Awakens demo.
Yeah.
Or like I think they did it in Spider-Man as well.
I would say it's better than just being like frosted, right?
But it makes the city look a lot better than just having like windows that you can't see into, and it's like, oh, you just can't see into them, sort of thing, you know. But the way you get ammo back is you destroy these like ethereal items, and they give you ammo based on the color they are, because you have 3 colors for your ammo.
So is that just like exploration for you to replenish ammo then?
Yeah, or you can also pray at shrines in order to... Once you cleanse Torii Gates, you can pray at them, and you can pray to get your spirit points back.
Okay.
This is what the map looks like. Sort of splits it up into different content, side content, side quests. I was doing a lot of the side quests that rewarded Magatama, and then to unlock the ability to summon I think it's called a Tengu, in order to jump to it. And then I was like, this only gives spirits. I'm not really interested in doing this side quest. Some of the side quest is cool, has cool stuff to it, but I could see why people might feel like it's a bit repetitive after a while. I love all of the weird shit in this game. I wish there was, because this game has a lot of like strange, like linear shifting rooms, and so there's also talismans as well, which are basically, like pieces of paper with writing on them that explode and stuff like that. They have those.
Yeah.
And you have a bow and arrow. I wish there was more weird shit. There's an option to turn down the horror stuff. Oh yeah, every vendor in the game is a cat, by the way. A floating spirit cat. But yeah, you see this a lot. You see the weird, spooky shit in the missions a lot more. And I wish there was more of it. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's options to turn down the horror stuff. I wish there was more horror stuff. I want more weird Japanese horror stuff. So this is how you hand in the spirits and XP you've collected to get the XP levels and the money. I also find it hilarious
technology
that
with spirits.
these there's a Tanuki speaking to you, and I'm like, oh, based on my Mario knowledge, I know that for some reason Japanese people call raccoons Tanukis. Because you have Tanuki suit Mario, which is Mario in a raccoon suit.
Wait, so raccoon's talking to you?
Yes, there's spirit raccoon. There's a raccoon you speak to, and he's like, "Yo, I'm a mafia boss. Me and my guys got turned into Tanukis or raccoons," and he's like, "Can you find them around the city?" And it's essentially one of the side quest contents you can. It's like an exploration side quest content you can do, where you can essentially. You'll look at a billboard and then you'll see a tail sticking out of it, and then you'll go up to it and it's like, damn, you found me. I was hiding as a billboard. I'll go and speak to the boss now. And it's just like that. Yeah, you can go around collecting raccoons hiding as billboards or satellites or bushes or whatever. And yeah, that's one of the side content things you can do if you want to, which is pretty cool. I think currently I'm at Chapter 5. I haven't finished this game, so usually with Tangerine these days, I've already finished the games and I completely forget everything about them because it's been so long since I played them. But because we're recording Tangerines as I'm playing the games, I have a lot more to say about the games because I'm like playing them like currently, or I've just finished them, sort of thing. And I think I'm far enough into the game where I can give a pretty in-depth review of it. I've played about 13 hours. I'm on Chapter 5. I have no idea how many chapters are in the game, but I've just unlocked a brand new area. And it was like, hey, if you go to this new area, you can't complete these side quests. These lock off these side quests. So I'm guessing I'm probably at least in the mid-game or maybe like halfway through the game sort of thing. But yeah.
If not further.
Yeah, it gives you a point of no return for side quests, so I don't know what that means, but I don't really want to look it up because I don't want any spoilers. I just want to keep playing the game. I'm really enjoying the game. I like the story stuff, the weird like horror stuff, and then I'm just enjoying flying around Tokyo picking up spirits. I'm just enjoying moving around, gliding, grappling to weird spirits in the sky. I'm just having a blast with this game. I think it is really, really fun, and I'd recommend it to most people. I mean, one thing to point out, I would say, is my expectations are maybe low going in this because I feel like most people. There's also this game also has stealth elements as well. You can go behind enemies and you can like instant take them out, like a stealth kill, and you can use the bow to like.
Slenderman in a suit.
Yeah. There's Slenderman and there's not so Slenderman, which is like a fat version of him. It's what I like to call him. Not so Slenderman.
Yeah, built different, man.
Does Slenderman come from Japanese folklore, or is it you think Slenderman influenced this Japanese game? I have no idea.
I can't remember, but Cinema's technically a modern.
But I actually
I can't
didn't.
remember where it's built from, but yeah.
I didn't use the bow and arrow or the stealth stuff that much in the game in the beginning. But there's actually a point in the game where you and KK get separated, and when you're separated from KK, you can't use any of your spirit weaving. So you're actually beholden on stealth kills, the bow and arrow, the talismans, and it actually forces you to use them a lot more. And I found after using them a lot more, I was like, actually, these are actually pretty good. I should just use these more often. And there's also
it's like not forces you to learn the mechanics in a way.
yeah. I mean, it kind of throws a lot of talismans at you, like at certain points in the game. And it's like, oh, okay, and you don't really get like I liked before I had the ability to summon the Tengu in the sky. There's a talisman called the Updraft talisman that essentially puts like a updraft on the floor that can knock enemies up. But you can also just put it on the floor and it'll shoot you up into the air. And I was using it to climb buildings that I was struggling to get up. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool talisman. It's like it lets you interact with enemies, but also lets you interact with platforming. I was like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds. It's from the mixed stuff I heard. Like it's this more mechanics than I was anticipating. Then because like I feel like
yeah,
a lot of people were saying it's like very simplistic.
I think the combat. I mean, if you just take out the green gun and you hold down left click, sure, you're not going to think the combat is very in depth. But
yeah,
if you genuinely go into this and you try everything, there is a lot of depth to this game when you actually go into it, sort of thing. Oh, that was the thing I was saying. Barrier of entry. So this was given away free on Twitch Prime on the Epic Games Store, which is I went into this, not buying the game, and I feel like a lot of people who are playing it now are playing on Xbox Game Pass, so they're not buying the game usually.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe people, because I think the game is much more positively reviewed now on Steam and stuff like that. So potentially maybe people in the beginning went into it and were like, I want to play a fast-paced FPS game. And this is not...
I think people were very hyped about the concept at the beginning, and maybe they're disappointed with the high concept. And like, oh, it's not.
Oh, Tony, enemies can grab you with a giant pair of fucking, and they can actually separate you from your spirit form. So this is when you can only use your bow and arrow, and not your weaving.
Cool. So that's mechanical.
Not only is it a scripted mechanic of the game, but it's also a mechanic that big boss enemies can use.
I love the terrifying sounds that the enemies make.
Just do a bit of fire weaving, get some RPGs out. I'm playing on normal as well. I don't know if there's a way to. I don't think there's a way to change difficulty mid-game. I kind of wish I turned the difficulty up slightly. I think one more difficulty above normal would actually make it a lot more. At least at this point of the game, when I've got quite a few upgrades, I would like to turn the difficulty up because I think it would the challenge would be more fun. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure there is a way to change it mid-game though, which is something I found myself doing recently with Ratchet and Clank. I played it on a lower difficulty, really enjoyed it. Got a bunch of upgrades to my guns, went, this is getting a bit easy, turned up the difficulty, and then was having fun again, So I think allowing you to turn up the difficulty mid-game is actually quite a good thing. I wish more games would do it.
Maybe not down, but yeah, up.
I think down is fine as well, because if you're struggling with the game, you're like, well, like Tony, so for example, you started a game on the highest difficulty, right? You played through half the game and you're really not enjoying it. You're getting your ass kicked. You're like, fuck, I like the game, but I'm getting my ass kicked. You're saying you wouldn't want people to be able to turn the difficulty game because if they were in the middle of the game, their other option is to start an entire new 100%. Run.
I think there's two schools of thought. One is like it's entirely like you're the user, like you get to like choose everything. But it's like I think the other side is like, oh, but there's like other people, like people are willing to cheese it and just like mechanically like, oh well, I still did it. And I was like,
I mean, it's a single player game,
but
so
yeah. But it's always like you're trying to save. The idea is like as a developer, you're trying to save the player from themselves. But I'm more of a freedom.
Doom Eternal is considered to be like quite a hard game, and that game lets you change difficulty. They actually recommend you try and play on a difficulty higher than you think you're going to be able to, because by the time you get to that point in the game learning the mechanics, you get a lot better at the game. But that game also, they say, hey, if you're really struggling, you can change like the devs have said, if you're struggling, you can change the difficulty down on the fly. There's no penalty for changing the difficulty. We want players to have fun.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the things like, oh, we need to like save the game from the players. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely like I've always chosen a certain difficulty and just stuck with that. I never thought, oh, unless I'm like really stuck. Unless like I'm not immediately like, oh, I failed once, I'm gonna change. Like I've never been like that, so I don't really see the problem. So yeah, I am pro being able to change it. So I think it's fine.
What was I gonna say? Oh, as well as secure, native dub for this game is Japanese. So when you launch the game and play it will be in Japanese. I'm okay with just having. I've found myself playing several games now in Japanese and just reading the English subtitles is fine. There is an English dub option available if you want to use English dub. You know, it's up to you.
Yeah, I always like to try the English, see how good it is, but I like to compare the two. So I think it's nice that
I've just been using the Japanese dub and I just haven't had any problem reading subtitles, so it just hasn't bothered me. But yeah, there is an option to change it to an English dub if you prefer that. One of the things, some of the stuff about the missions I don't like is, there's a section here where you have to look through binoculars, and I was on it for like 10 minutes. It was like, you need to look at a specific thing and press E, but we're not going to tell you which specific thing to look at, and it's like, okay, I've got to just look around with these binoculars forever, not being able to get off them. There was like one mission with Barrier where you had to go around destroying these weird squid things, but it didn't tell you where they were. So you had to find them, but I had no idea what they looked like, and it was on a timer, and I was like, oh, this is kind of annoying. There is some like missions that I think have some rough edges, but I would say generally the game is like quite polished and quite fun.
Okay.
Oh, this section's really cool where you get separated from KK and you basically have unlimited arrows to defend him from getting attacked, which really helps. It's like there's these enemies that shoot these giant orbs at you, which I was constantly dodging, but it wasn't until I played this section that I realized if you shoot those orbs while they're summoning the big ones, that explode and kill them. And I was like, oh, that's pretty useful to know.
It does feel like they're trying to change up the gameplay, which is like quite nice and interesting. And I do appreciate the weird horror stuff. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I was like, at the time I was like reading the mixed reception and going, okay, I still want to like into it, but like I feel like this makes it seem like way more in depth than people were making out to be. But
yeah, I genuinely think
people
it's
just like
a really good game. I would,
maybe.
Based on my rating system, I would give it a 4-star to a 4.5 star. I think it is
and it looks really nice.
Genuinely,
it looks
yeah,
great.
it has ray tracing on. I think it's reflections and maybe
it's just the mirrors.
It has ray tracing reflections. So like when it's raining and you've got these really wet surfaces and you look down and like the city lights and the red moon is reflected on the floor, looks really cool. Yeah. The only issue I think is this game, it does have some slight stuttering to it still to this day. It's Unreal Engine 4 title.
Okay.
They never really fixed the stuttering issue for this game.
I think my understanding is it's really difficult to fix unless like you really have like an in-depth knowledge of the engine. So
yeah, you can just
an Unreal 4 problem.
I can be running at like 160 FPS and then just drop to 70 for a second and then come back up or whatever. Yeah. And you can get around that by like capping your frame rate to your lowest FPS to try and help with those stutters, but yeah, I think it's a shame they didn't go back and fix the stuttering on this, considering the fact they released Hi-Fi Rush in such a good state without stuttering. I would love to have seen them gone back and fix that, but they're probably working on another project now. Tony, their next project is going to be
another random project.
Let me think of the most. It's going to be an RTS. Set in the Care Bear universe. That's going to be their next the next
Well, yeah,
game.
there needs to be a twist though. I think halfway through you have to summon a demon. I don't know.
No, we can't do demons again. That's too obvious now.
Friendly demons. Friendly demons.
Friendship. All right.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo fucking rocks. Check it out. Check out Carrion and check out Save Room the Merchant. I think 3 Halloween games I played recently that are really fucking awesome. I'm really enjoying all of them.
Creepy
Enjoying
slash
Ghostwire
horror.
Tokyo. And we'll probably be doing another Tangerine on Halloween games, so I keep playing them like this. And I'll probably give you an update once I'm finished Ghostwire Tokyo and tell you what I think of the ending and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.